Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to try something a little new. I'm going to tell you what I worked on, what I improved on, and I'm going to tell you a story. Because I need to leave the bowling as uncut as possible so those who want to give me advice can see what I'm doing. And if I do too long without any entertainment, then you guys get bored. And that's kind of the feedback that I got from the last video. So, on this specific session, I really focused on making sure that my timing for the swing wasn't early, and then also really just thinking where are my feet right now and what arrow do I want to hit, because for my entire bowling career I just looked at the pins. I would just look at the pins and be like, let's throw it the way I want to throw it, and then we'll see what happens. So the lane was really dry. I eventually went over to my spare ball and bowled with my spare ball for the rest of it, and really just focused on where do I need to throw this ball in order to get the best success. But this is going to be the last time I bowl at this alley. I really just want to try a bunch of ones out, and I found my favorite one, and the lanes here are always pretty dry. Anyways, we'll go on to that story. So, I applied to be a technician, like an actual pin setter technician to fix the A2 pin setters at this bowling alley. And I was 17 at the time. I had experience, I had carpentry certifications and mechanic work, a lot of stuff like that. So they were really desperate. They hired me, and the lady was like, alright, great. My manager was like, great, we're gonna hire you to start then, and I'm really excited. So she sets me up with this 22-year-old, and he trains me. And he trains me how to maneuver the machines, how to get into the areas to fix certain problems, and then obviously this stage, how to power off the machines and set it so the pin setter doesn't fall while you're trying to do certain things. Great. Then I get paired up with this dweeb who is maybe a year younger than me, and he was super scared of the machines, and he wouldn't even do anything on them except for pull this one lever that can fix the problem 10% of the time. So he sees me working on the machines the way I was taught, and that freaked him out. So he tells my manager, he's like, Sam's being reckless and he's doing it wrong. So I basically get chewed out by my manager, and she's like, well, why am I getting reports of this? And it's the entire time, that is how I was being trained. And nothing wrong was happening, and anytime he would tell me to put my hand somewhere in the machine, there was an obvious place where it was this is where you put your hand. So I felt like I was doing everything right, and I was working well. So then, after that, a few days later, I get food poisoning. I eat 3 hours before, I'm now an hour into my shift, and I'm just so sick. And I ate Chick-fil-A, by the way. I never get food poisoning from Chick-fil-A, but I don't know, maybe it wasn't the Chick-fil-A. But I get really sick through my shift. I'm I literally have to go home. I'm so nauseous, I have to throw up. So she is well, you can't leave. I'm what do you mean? I'm so ill. She's like, you can't. I'm well, I'm leaving because I'm ill. And I was so ill that I threw up on my way home, and I threw up when I got home. So I was actually sick. So then the next day, and by the way, these were the worst hours. I had to work from 4 to 2 a.m. Worst hours. I hated this job. So then, essentially, she then doesn't like me and sticks me behind the counter for the rest of my shifts. I have to spray shoes and take payments, and I didn't do any mechanic work, which is the job that I applied for. So then, after that, I went home sick that day. She texted me the next morning, which is a Sunday, and it was my day off. She's like, you need to come in, and we need to talk about what happened last night. So I come in, and I'm I got food poisoning. I know it was food poisoning. I threw up. I'm fine now, and I can come in. So I go in, and she's rebuking me. She's like, I was so excited for you to come in and start this job, and you just let me down. You were so disappointing, and I honestly regret hiring you. And now we're gonna create a policy in which if you bowl at this place, you cannot work here. Yes. And she basically lectured me for an hour straight, probably, while I sat in her office. So I look at her after she lectures me for an hour, and I go, I'll just put my 2 weeks in then, because clearly you don't like me. The guy who trained me actually really likes me, but then the guy who you paired me up with doesn't like me, and you stuck me behind the counter, and I don't want to spray shoes all day. And she's like, why would you want to quit? Why do you want to put your 2 weeks in? And I was like, you just took me in on my day off and told me about how disappointed you are and how bad of an employee I was for an hour. I'm gonna quit. So I finished off my 2 weeks, and I worked well. Like I worked hard. I'm gonna continue like everything. And at the end of the 2 weeks, she's like, you know what? I want you still. And I was like, nope, I'm leaving. And then 2 days after that, she got fired. So I feel like it was not my fault that I got fired. Even though I kind of put my 2 weeks in, it was not my fault.